back to Mohawk Motors, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jason, and as you've seen, you see now, I have brought home another just absolute peach of a Silverado. This is quite the specimen, isn't it? I'll tell you, this is probably, right out of the gate, probably the worst front fenders I've seen on one of these trucks. At least in real life. I've seen some pictures that are way worse, but I think these are the worst front fenders I've seen myself in person. And this thing, maybe not something you would pick up, but can you guess why I bought it? I'll tell you, I think I paid a good price for it, a fair price for it. And thanks a lot to Austin, the gentleman that sold it to me. Why do you think I bought it? Was it super cheap? Too cheap to say no? Is it, what's special about it? Is there something special about it? Why do you think I bought it? Put it in the comments and then come back and I'll show you. Here's a hint. This is a 2007 Classic. So, very last of this generation of trucks. It's a 2500 HD. If you're thinking special engine, no, it's a 6-liter LQ4. Nothing special about the engine, which probably leads you to what is special about it. Right here. We've got another manual transmission 2500 HD. But as you guys know, I've messed with a lot of these trucks. I really love this generation of trucks. I'm always looking and seeing what's out there, trying to learn more about them. This is the first 2007, true 2007 Classic that I've seen with a manual transmission. I have seen plenty of 2006s with manual transmissions. As you know, I fixed up the silver 2006 2500 HD with a manual and sold it. I have not seen a true 2007 Classic with a factory manual transmission before now. I know that the manuals in general from 2005 on were a very small percentage of GM's production, and this thing, I don't want to use the word rare. There's stuff that is certainly more rare than this, especially based on just the number of trucks GM was producing, but this would be a hard one to find. Now, all of that said, this thing is too far gone. I am not fixing this truck. This is a parts truck. I'm going to tell you largely, there's a couple trucks that I've, through my research and everything, I want to build. I want to build stuff that GM never made to keep in my personal collection. And I'm going to need the transmission out of this one for one of those projects. I'll probably use the engine also. The gentleman that sold it to me showed me on the door sticker there, gave me his word. He didn't have any other paperwork, but I might look it up just to verify, but it does have a Jasper engine in it with only about 60,000 miles. That's what he told me. You can see otherwise, there's not a usable piece of sheet metal on this truck. Somebody has replaced the cab corners at some point, and I'm no body guy, but that's not up to my standard. The doors are totally smoked. Both sides, they're gone. These rockers are not original. Whoever did them, I'd give them a 6 out of 10. They're on there and they're solid, but I'm not a body guy, but I think it could have been done better. You can see we've got the Ultra Beef Deluxe replacement rear cross member. We've also got the Bluetooth gas tank cross member and strap here in the back. We already talked about the fenders. You see the doors on this side smoked also. And I was optimistic at first looking at it. I think this hood was gonna be a good usable hood for something else, especially I was looking at the underside. And the underside isn't as rusty as many that I've seen. But then I got to looking a little closer, and we've got some cancer over here, and it's coming through on the outside. So hood might be good for a work truck, but it's not something that I would want to put on a truck that I'm going to build to keep. So, and then under here we've got the 6-liter, just your standard plain Jane LQ4. Again, the guy that I bought it from gave me his word, showed me the sticker. I'll look into it later and see if I can find some actual information on when this was put in and the whatever Jasper says they did to it, because I believe they keep pretty good records of the stuff that they rebuild and sell. And he told me the fuel lines were leaking, so he replaced the fuel lines. And you can see down here, we've got some braided stainless fuel lines and evap lines. So he did do that, but he said after he replaced the fuel lines, it wouldn't run. He didn't have any spark. So I'm gonna dig into it and see if I can get it to run. He says if I can get spark, it'll run. And you know, I could fix it up. I told him that, like, this truck's too far gone for me to fix up. So let's dig into it. Let me get you guys sitting over here and get a little bit better light. We'll take a closer look and see if we can get this thing to run. I'm probably gonna have to jam a battery in here with some light, because this thing's been parked for quite a while. All right, let's start by getting the battery out of this thing. It's about as dead as they come. Get this out of our way here. Throw it on the charger, see if it'll even take a charge. There we go. Got the go handle. Woo! Holy moly, there's a lot of corrosion under there. Let's peek around and see how our wiring looks. No spark. I'm willing to bet there's a wiring problem. Again, oh, there's some not ideal wire. Still has some connection though, I think that's okay. And that's a supply to the coil packs. I think that's all right. He did tell me he put a new starter on it. We're missing our ground to the firewall over here. And that's body ground from firewall to engine block. So that really shouldn't cause us to not have spark. Now we should have a ground down here to the side of the engine block, right behind the power steering pump. Let's look and see if we can see that one. We're missing a bolt from the power steering pump. Where can I put my light? Here so I can see. There we go. There's our ground wire back there. Can you see it? Nice. All right, that one's still down there. Let me see here. Can you see what I see? Yep, that ground is still there. Looks rusty, but still connected. Oh, and there's our ground strap. Oh, broken off. No wonder it's not connected. That's for our firewall ground. Not a terrible issue. Oh, let's see what we have over here. Oh, all right. We've got a harness ground here, not connected. If I remember correctly, this one is critical to get spark. This one goes to the engine block back here to the rear of the intake manifold. Let me see if I can scrounge up a bolt and get that connected. Okay, we got her started. Watch out, man. All right, she's tight. She should have good connection now. Let's continue our overview and see what else this thing may or may not need before we try to start it. How about coolant? Do we have any coolant in here? Empty coolant reservoir. So we'll remember that. We're not going to let this thing sit and idle for any extended period of time. If it does run, how about engine oil? How's that look? Not terrible. Dirty, but there and within the full range. And not over full. So I don't suspect that we're going to have coolant in the oil. Any brake fluid in there? Zero. Zero brake fluid. Power steering. Oh, full of power steering fluid. No transmission fluid to check. Look at that. A battery hold down bolt with the socket still on it. 14mm socket, wrong size. It's got a, so this bolt typically uses a 13mm socket, and it's got a 14mm 1/4 inch drive socket stuck on the bolt. Interesting. Is there any fluid in the clutch master cylinder? We'll find out together. Oh, that's full right to the top. That's a good sign. Any gas in here? Oh yeah, feels like there's a lot of gas in there. We probably better get that secured up, huh? Let's do that. Let's rethink this here. There we go. There we go, that's good enough for where this thing's going. So we've got some fuel in there, at least from the feel of it. At this point, I'm just gonna assume there's oil in the transmission. It did come with a key, always nice. It even came with, ta-da, a bonus key. You'll notice that this one is the plain Jane work truck variety. Tons of additional switches though. Like we got a whole kit over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 extra switches. The Walmart Sony head unit. What's in here? Nothing. Surprising. One good chrome hubcap. I did notice in the back. Check this out. A set of factory tow mirrors that aren't even broken? What? And one of your 10mm sockets. Let me know whose this is. Some spare change. Anything under the seat? Nah, doesn't look like it. The replacement driver's seat. Surely replaced the blown out original. Let's let's grab a battery, stick it back in this thing, and twist on the key and see what kind of lights we get. All right. Got a brand used battery from something that I've taken apart that had at least some life in it. Probably enough to get us a reaction to the key being turned on. Maybe not a start, but a reaction. And again, we're going off of this guy saying, I think it doesn't have spark. Like, who knows? Who knows why it didn't run before? No tickle, that's good. I mean, there's oil in it, and I can't see any holes in the side of the engine block. And Austin did seem really bummed to sell this thing to me. I think well, I don't think, he told me he's expecting a baby soon with his girlfriend, and he needs something reliable to transport that baby around more than he needs this truck. So, I get it. Let's see. Let's see if it'll do anything if we tickle the key. Oh, we got some lights in the switches here. Who knows what they do? Oh, we got nothing. We turn the key, we got nothing. So, I think next step, let's get that body ground hooked up. Based on the rust factor and general condition, that body ground might be the only body ground this truck had. So, let's get our strap from over yonder connected over hither and see if that gives us any action. Oh, you're way too short. You're way too short. You're not even close. What happened? Way too short. All right, let's see if I have a proper strap around here. I'll be back. All right, I found one. When my hoarding habits positively reinforce themselves, oh, it's not good. But also, it is good. Look at that, a long enough cable reaches right up there. There we go. All right, let's see if we get anything now. What do you think? Was that it? Was that our problem? I think probably not. Nope, that wasn't it. All right. Still nothing. Well, let's check what we probably should have checked right out of the gate, see if there's any fuses or relays in this thing. Oh, looks like they're here. I mean, that's something. Should we pull the cover? We got a nice little mouse access panel there. Pull the cover, see if we have power coming from our battery over to our main point here. You know, I am noticing over here a bit of a Parfum de Mickey Mouse over here. So, and under the fuse panel is a notorious mouse hotel. Well, not mouse hotel. That's good. I don't see, honestly, I don't see anything that looks chewed. That's extra good. All right, let's check and make sure we got some power. Maybe that battery's dead. All right, it's been a little bit. Had to try a couple different batteries. I've got a battery in here now that actually has some life in it. I got the charger on it, trying to get it topped up. While I was shuffling batteries, I pulled the bolts out of both positive and negative. I pulled the shields off, the insulators off, and cleaned up the connections on both the positive and negative. I cleaned up my main power connection over here at the fuse panel. So, I think something should happen now. At the very least, the dash should light up. Oh, there we go. Got the gauges Service brakes, check engine, service air, service everything. 290,000 miles. Let's see if anything happens now. I got the clutch in. All right, we crank. And it sounds like there's something happening in the engine, so that's good. But no fire. We're making progress. We've got crank. Let's see if we've got any fuel pressure. We should have some fuel pressure at the Schrader valve on the fuel rail. All right, let's see here. Get the little cap off. Let's see if we have anything. Oh yeah. All right. That gas is old. This thing's been sitting for a while. That gas is old. Yeah, barely discernible as gas. That stuff is old. We're gonna see what happens. I've run these things on worse. We're gonna see what happens. But we have fuel pressure up to the rail. That's good. So I guess we need to check for spark next. And fortunately now I have old gas. It's probably not even flammable anymore. So next we'll check for spark. We'll see if we're getting any spark. I've got a spare spark plug sitting down there on the alternator. You guys watch for me. Tell me if we have any spark. I didn't see any spark, guys. So we still got no spark in this thing. Let's check. Let's make sure. Let's make sure we're getting power over to the coil packs. And then let's back probe the ground and provide a known good ground to the coil packs and see where that gets us. All right, folks, it's a little after 10 o'clock. Still don't have spark. Tried a couple things. And I'm still not getting any trouble codes out of the PCM either. So that tells me, at least what I'm thinking is, my crank position sensor, my cam position sensor, they are feeding the PCM the data it needs. I've checked, double checked, and triple checked that I have good power and good ground going to the ignition coils when the key is on and when I'm cranking the engine. All right, day 2, everybody. It's the next evening. I'm gonna get going on this thing again. I did just notice coil pack number 1 appears to be a brand new coil pack. The rest all look to be possibly original, but definitely old. How does the other side look over here? Those all look like original coil packs. Guys, I think I've seen like 1 bad coil pack in all the LS engines I've worked on. So I really doubt that I have 8 bad coil packs. And through thinking about it today, I think first, before I do any more diagnosis and screwing around, I think first thing I'm gonna do is just hop in and give it one more try. I've had the battery charging all day on a trickle charge. So the battery is nice and full, it's topped all the way up. So we're not gonna have any better voltage than we do now. So I think before anything else, I'm gonna just try and see if having a nice, healthy, topped up battery gets us what we want. I don't think it will, but I wanna be sure. Yeah, still nothing. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and one at a time I'm going to get all these three main grounds cleaned up. It's about 10:40 and I'm quitting for the night. Guys, I'm really frustrated. I cannot get this thing to make spark. I know I'm hot wiring power directly into the coil packs by jumpering from here to here, verified by back probing the connector. I've got 13.6 volts into the coil packs. I bypassed the ground. In fact, I've got all the grounds bypassed now to right here. I know I've got good ground. I've got less than 8 ohms of resistance from the ground pins over here in the coil pack connector to the negative terminal of the battery over here. And I still have no spark. So that tells me, for whatever reason, the PCM is not triggering the coils to make spark. There's a couple reasons the PCM could be not doing that. If it's not getting a piece of data that it needs, like crankshaft RPM or camshaft RPM. Typically that'll trigger a check engine light though. So I think my first step tomorrow is going to be get HP tuners hooked up to this thing and live scan and verify that when I crank the engine over, I am getting a signal from the crank position sensor, that it is seeing that the engine is turning. I'm super frustrated. I've been screwing with this thing for hours and I've never had this much trouble getting any spark at all out of one of these engines, one of these trucks. So I think tomorrow I'm gonna have to get out the big boy toys, get out HP tuners, start out by live scanning and see if I have crank position signal, crankshaft rotation data coming into the PCM. Assuming I do, then I think the next thing I'll try is disabling VATs and see if that gets me a spark. So that's it. I'm so frustrated. I'm going in and going to bed. I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, folks, it's actually nap time the next day now. I came down. I've got HP tuners keyed up here and we're logging data. And the thing that we're really looking for is up here in the top left, RPM. So I've got the clutch pedal depressed, all the relays in place. I don't know if you can see that. It's not reading any RPM. If it's not reading any RPM, the PCM won't signal to fire the coils. So I think I'm going to have to drop the starter off of this thing and check the crank position sensor. Make sure that it's plugged in. And as much of a pain as it is, I might just grab a known good one from one of these other engines and swap it out to make sure that I have a good crank position sensor in this thing, because that's where the computer gets engine RPM from. All right, I've got the starter out of this thing. We've got a problem. Can you guys see how that little silver bracket holding the cam position or the crank position sensor in is bent out away from the block? That ain't right. That's not how that's supposed to be. That little tab should be flat. So our crank position sensor is too far away from the reluctor wheel. I'd be willing to bet that's why we don't have any crank position signal or engine RPM. So I have to get it unhooked, get the sensor moving, either in or out, whichever way I can get it to move. It's a Duralast sensor, not even an OEM. And then we'll figure out, try to get it pushed in far enough that it'll read engine RPM. Now the crank position sensor is all the way in. I straightened the little retaining tab. The sensor is pushed all the way in. Now it should read RPM. I bet now we'll have spark. Oh man, I should have just plugged the dang thing in sooner before I did all this screwing around to see what I was missing. Hopefully this gets it. I'm gonna get this thing all put back together and then we'll try it again, see if it starts up. Let's see if it starts. No, exactly the same as before. Great, awesome, excellent, wonderful. So I figured I might as well hook the laptop up and verify that we're getting RPM now. And we are at least getting that. You can see I've got HP tuners logging. We are at least reading RPM now. But we're still not getting any spark. All right, everybody, it's the evening now. Still the same day, but the evening. I stayed out here and screwed around with this thing, and I don't think I made any headway. And then I decided, you know what? Reset, start at the very beginning, because I have things bypassed. I've got ground bypassed directly to the ground terminal on the battery. I've got power bypassed directly to the positive post on the fuse panel. So I know for a fact, and I tested with the multimeter, I have power and ground going to the coil packs. I also went through and checked and I ohmed out the control wires from the PCM to each individual coil control wire. And all those wires passed 0 resistance. So I know I have conductivity from the PCM pin to the coil packs. So then I thought maybe I've got a PCM problem. Maybe somebody hooked the battery up backwards and fried it or something like that. So I grabbed another PCM, a spare that I have, from another 2007 2500 HD. Went into HP tuners. It was already VATS deleted. I went into HP tuners and I switched it from automatic transmission with a Prindle to manual transmission, so it wouldn't be looking for any safeties or anything like that. Hooked that PCM in, no change at all. So I went back to the PCM original to the truck. I thought, do I just have bad coils? Like, I've never in my life, like I said before in the video, I don't think I've ever had a coil pack fail, an OEM coil pack, except for a few that were just rusted so bad that they were literally coming apart. And I was testing off of the #1 coil and coil pack with my little spark plug jig here, which looked to be a new coil pack. Where did I put it? It's right here. It was this one. Well, guess what, guys? That coil pack is junk. Coil does not work, does not fire. I made myself up a little ignition coil test harness here. So all I have to do, plug into the coil, black to ground, red to positive, flip my little switch and I should get a spark. So I went through and tested all my coils. The other 7 test good, but the one that I've been testing for spark off of, bad. Will not make a spark no matter what I do. So I feel I may have been chasing my tail for a while because I was testing off of a bad coil pack. Or I was determining whether or not I had spark off of a bad coil pack. So got a good coil pack put on off a spare engine that I have around here. And then went through and cranked it over, and I had an intermittent spark on the spark plug. It wasn't a great spark, but it was making a spark here and there. So here's what we're gonna do. I've already done this, but I'm gonna do it to show you guys. Like I said, I've got 2 grounds directly to the battery ground. I've got my pink positive power feed directly to the battery positive. And I've got the intake manifold, the intake tube off. Because I figure, man, you know what? An intermittent spark is better than no spark at all. Maybe this thing will do something. Maybe all 8 injectors are stuck. So let's spray a little starting fluid in here and see what happens. Watch this, team. We got spark. We've got no fuel. I think that crank position sensor was, I'm pretty sure the crank position sensor was the reason it had no spark the entire time. After I fixed the crank position sensor, so I was reading engine RPM, I'm pretty sure I had spark at that point, but I was testing off of a dead coil pack that didn't work. So, whoops. All I can do is laugh at myself now. All right, let's do a little update here. So, I got all the injectors working. It really wasn't that bad, just a few taps and they all started working freely. So, not a huge deal there. And then I figured, well, I had the fuel line disconnected from the fuel rail. I would run the pump a little bit and see what kind of gas comes out. And I think I got about 3 cups of water out of it before any gas started to come out. And even then, when gas started, like, I think this truck was sitting for a long time. Because the gas, I'll just show you what it does now. I think we've got gas that's just too far gone. So we can get in it and twist the key. And you see it kind of wants to try, but I think the gas in this thing is too far gone. So here we go. We'll get all the gas drained out of it, pumped out of it. Let's throw some fresh gas in and see if that gets us anywhere. Team, success! Finally! Oh, 3 nights of screwing with this thing. Finally got it started. Excuse the terrible squealing, but I'm kind of scared to turn it off. I think we've got a serpentine belt problem. But it's idling. It's got good oil pressure. That's really all I needed. I just needed the thing to run enough that I can move it around. And now I can. So, success. That's what I'm calling it. After I drained out all the old crappy gas and dumped some fresh gas in, it kind of sputtered a little more and sputtered a little more and sputtered a little more. Finally, I think it worked all that crummy old fuel out of it and got the new stuff sucked up and pushed up to the injectors, and it runs. I want to see if it continues to run if I unhook my bypasses. I want to try to do it before I turn this thing off. And I don't want to let it run too long because there's no coolant in it. So let's undo the power bypass first, because I feel like that's probably better. That definitely made it run not as good. It definitely runs better with the power bypass hooked up, but it will run without it, which is good. Let's see if it'll stay running if I undo the ground bypass. All right, it does. Good. Guys, that's really all I could have hoped for. Just to get it to run enough, I can move it around. All my shenanigans is unhooked. Oh, finally. I'm gonna shut it down and get all my T-pins pulled out of all these injector and coil connectors. Well, everybody, it's the next day. My kids are napping, so while they're doing that, I want to get this thing out, move it around in the field a little bit, and see if it goes through the gears. I'm 99% sure I don't have any service brakes, only a parking brake. So we'll do what we can around the back field here and see what it does. Assuming it starts. Well, here she is with the other parts trucks. Guys, it drives for running pretty poorly. It goes first gear to second to third is a little bit of a grind. I feel like that synchro is a little worn. So just remember, not a big deal to replace a couple synchros in that transmission if we need to. And otherwise, smooth, not making any noise. I managed to get it up to fourth gear a couple times, and fourth gear sounds good. Ran out of room for fifth. So the thing that I really wanted out of that truck was the transmission. If the transmission was the only usable piece out of it, I'd have been happy to give the $1,500 that I did. So the fact that it's got a good rear end, it's got a good front differential, the engine runs, and I feel like with a little bit more time, I could get that engine running really well. I'm totally happy with it. And I have a project in mind for that drivetrain in the future, but it's gonna be down the road a little ways because there's some other things that I wanna do before I do that one. So you gotta buy things when the price is right, and the price is right on that one. So I think that's it for this one. Man, this was a tough one. That one really tested me. And perseverance, patience. I think total it probably, from rolling it off the trailer to just now, I'm gonna say like 11 or 12 hours and diagnostics, repairs, etc. to get it able to be driven back out of here. And keep in mind, that was just to get the engine running right and figure the other stuff out, which is not fast, but maybe it'll help give you guys a little bit of an idea. Like, yes, I picked it up. To me, I believe is cheap. I feel is cheap. I'm happy with what I paid, but it took time to get it to where it is. And geez, if you wanted to turn that thing into a running, driving, legal on the road truck, there'd be hundreds of hours into it. But it's just a parts rig, so it'll stay here until I'm ready for it. I've got that component checked off of my list of needed parts. So I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna try to get this video edited so I can upload it for you guys this weekend. It's been a couple weeks since I had a video up, and I want to get something out for you. So you see that, you know, if nothing else, this will humble me a bit, right? I made some mistakes in this diagnostic process. That's just the way it goes sometimes. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Till the next video, take care.